Hi, I'm Joanna with Blissful Baby, and I'm here with Basak and Scott, and we are doing a celebration because we just finished sleep coaching with Everin. He was 2.5 years old when we started our sleep coaching journey. So thanks so much, you guys, for sharing your story. So tell me what life looked like before you called me.
Oh well, yeah, it was quite hectic. For us to go to bed, it started at 7:30 p.m. this year, and then it delayed until 9:30 p.m. And it took a whole process for us to get everyone in bed, starting with going upstairs, getting into his room, going through his bath, and a lot of playing before a bottle of milk. And then we have to run around the house, get him into bed eventually, one way or another. And I had to lay down with him. And by the time it is 10:30, very silently, I would leave his room. That was our routine. And Scott, he would wake up at around.
Yeah, he would wake up around, sometime after midnight and walk into our room and crawl into our bed and, keep us up with his squirming for a while until he fell asleep. And then he would wake up usually around 5:30 or 6 in the morning. And the first thing he would want to do is watch TV.
Yeah, yeah. And what was hard about that too is that with him going to bed so late, it meant that your entire evening was consumed. There was no time for yourself or each other. I mean, it was like the whole thing was, let's get this child to bed. And it took both of you, and it took mom, because there was a big mommy preference going on where he only wanted mom. So it got a little bit awkward there, because if Scott wanted to help more, he was like, no. And there was all this protesting and around, it had to be mom. So, okay. So that was kind of hectic and chaotic. So how did you feel? Like, what was happening in your personal life and your professional life because of all this broken sleep and all this kind of bedtime drama?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a pretty calm person generally, and I was at my wit's end. I was miserable. I was depressed. I could not handle, the evening time. I dreaded the evenings. I dreaded the weekends. My son and I weren't very close at the time. He just had this big mommy preference, and that also was, bothered me. Yeah, I was at my wit's end. I wanted to give up.
Yeah. And I just want to say, just for anyone listening, that like, this is common. This happens a lot. And I remember when Scott came, he was like, this is the way I'm feeling. And I was like, it's okay, Dad, because it's not that your child doesn't love you. It's not that you'll never have that close bond. It's the sleep situation that is causing this disconnect. And if we can help your babies, your child learn their sleep skills, we can create the parent-child bond that you're seeking. And Dad was like, well, that sounds great, but really, like, get them sleeping first, and then we'll talk about that would be an extra bonus if we got the parent-child bond that we were seeking. So how were you feeling, Mom?
Just seeing, first of all, I was feeling for everyone, but I think mainly I was feeling for Scott, because I know him very well, of course, and I knew how it was for him and how he was struggling, not only being part of the whole process, but also almost like isolated from the process. Yet it was a tiring process anyway to start with. And I'm not even talking us not having any time for each of us. That's a whole different discussion. But that was at 10:30. Not only, even it ends at 10 or 9:30, it doesn't matter, because we mentally were so tired that we didn't even want to talk. So that was really how our life was before we started this journey with you.
Yeah. And then you heard about me through a friend, and you were like, all right, I think I'm desperate enough.
Exactly.
And you called me. Sorry, you guys, that's my dog in the background. I'm so sorry for those of you that are wondering, like, what's that sound? That's it's my dog. He's coughing.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Joanna. We heard about you actually even before, but we were thinking that we had things figured out until it was not. And then on top of that, we had a newborn 2 weeks before we reached out to you. So not only where we were mentally, physically, emotionally, but also we had introduced our newborn to the whole thing, which created a chaos in the evening at night with both of them in our room, in our bed. So with all that said, we said, okay, I'm going to reach out to Joanna. I didn't know all the details, how everything works. I just replied to your, get into your website, and the same day you called me, and I was like, okay, let's give it a try. But we just had no doubt. We had doubt about how this is going to help us because we were such at the bottom.
Yeah. Yeah. And most people are skeptical, like, okay, wait, it's so bad. Like, how in the world can someone on Zoom who's never met me or my child in real life, like, how is it even remotely possible that this could be the solution? Scott's kind of like,
Exactly.
and that's common too. And I'm okay with that. Skepticism for me is great because I'm like, all right, let's do this and then we'll see. Right. And then they're like, yes. Okay, so what was it like? So you guys said yes for the help, which is awesome, right? Because that's what I want. I want families to know, like, you do not have to suffer. There is always a solution. And so you said yes, and so we got started. And so what did you find that you liked most about working with a coach and working with me?
Well, I think your availability was great. You kind of tailored the coaching, for our son, which was great. I had to, document his sleep, the process, and then, through the night, and then send that to you. And then, we'd have calls, the first week or so daily to kind of catch up and tweak things and kind of, help coach, and, here's what to expect tonight and here's what to do. And so it's extremely helpful, just kind of the personal contact with you, even though over Zoom was tremendously helpful through the process.
And what I like about the process, and that was one of the hesitation actually when we first heard during summer about you, we were thinking, we didn't know you were in California, you were in Zoom. We were thinking someone is going to come to our house and they're going to do this for us. And we wanted to know how to do it. I think the whole process trained us to train our kid, which is a knowledge and experience that we are going to be able to use for our second kid and continue. I think that was the biggest gain. You educate us on how the sleep behavior and how everything works, and it is customized to everyone and customized to our schedule and our life needs. So I think that was very powerful.
Yes, exactly. Because every family has different family values, different goals, different schedules, different priorities and obligations that we need to blend and fold into the sleep plan, so that we meet the needs of the child, we meet the needs of the parent-child bond, but we also meet the needs of the household, so the household can function in a really, like a high functioning household, not a rushed, chaotic, always flying by the seat of your pants, right? We just kind of like get everything working really smoothly for every component of the household and every component of your life. So now we're done. So what does your life look like now? Like, what is Everin doing? And what does your evenings look like?
Smile at our face.
Everyone's sleeping.
Everyone is sleeping.
It's amazing. We start our process, normally after 6. He's in bed, and by 7, I read his books. I, kiss him on his forehead. I say good night, turn off the light, close the door, and I have my whole evening.
And he sleeps through the night.
He doesn't leave his room. He wakes up at a decent hour, and he waits for myself, for Basak to enter the room in the morning, and it's just, our lives have changed.
And and on top of it, it's well-rested kid, but also very happy kid that we have right now, and it's throughout the day that we see it. And he starts the day with that energy. He starts the day with the proud of him, knowing that he slept through the night, and he makes that point. So we are overall just happy. The only problem we have right now is we don't know what to do after 7 p.m. as a couple, but we are gonna figure that out too.
Yeah. I'd say, Everin's definitely a happier little boy. I'm a much happier dad, and the bond that I've gained with my son through this process has just been, invaluable. I just we're so much closer now than we were before.
Right. And that was important to you. Like I mentioned earlier that you were like skeptical about the process and skeptical that the bond could actually come out of something that appeared to be so difficult. Like, how could sleep training, which is going to be hard, result in the parent-child bond I want? Like, that doesn't make sense. But I would say that is what this is all about. I want a well-rested child and a smooth, drama-free bedtime so that there can become opportunities for the parent-child bond, because that bond at bedtime can be beautiful and it can be peaceful and it can be amazing. And it allows mom to caretake the newborn. So now dad is in charge of bedtime and mom can be totally available to the newborn with the nursing and everything that's required of mom right now. So it's a very, we've synchronized the sleep schedules. And so it's just really nice. And that's why they can have a quiet house at 7 p.m. and figure out what Netflix or HBO Max or whatever, or take up a new hobby or something like that. Or how about go to bed by 9 o'clock?
Which we've done.
Which we have done. I think we slept very well too now.
Right.
Much longer.
And I should also say, in the midst of all this, mom had to come out of maternity leave and go back to work, right? So that was another big transition that happened in our work together. So there was a lot of things happening simultaneously that we needed this to be successful, so that mom could make a smooth transition back to the workplace and that dad could be managing bedtime and all of that. Yeah. So if you met a parent who was sleep deprived and overwhelmed, and they were afraid to ask for help, or they were afraid that sleep training is like scary or dangerous or was going to affect the child bond, like, what do you want to tell them? Like, what do you want to shout from the rooftops?
Well, I have a lot to say there. I think the realization of, as a parent, that they don't have to suffer through what they're going through. And there's a life, even with us, almost a 3-year-old kid now and 2-month-old baby girl, that we have a life that we can go out for a date, we can enjoy our evening, and we can select to do nothing if we want to after 7 p.m. And we also have a happier household, and they don't have to sacrifice, they don't have to suffer through what they're going through if they're going through the similar things that we were. And also they can actually have a much healthier marriage too, because the sleep training is really not only getting them in bed, it's just a whole household, well-rested kid, well-rested family, happiness in and around everywhere. So I think that will be the one thing. And the other thing I want to highlight, when we started this process, we asked Joanna the question, like, how long is it gonna take? Of course, it depends on your situation, what your goal, your kid, but this is not a 6-month, a year process. This is a very short, relatively to your life and what you expect is, and it is amazing. And within a very short time, the life quality can change that much. I think those are the things that I will highlight, that this is not a scary road. It is a lot of work for everyone involved, but at the end you see the light in the end. And then also it is a short journey.
Yeah, I mean, I think by the 2-week mark, we were like really rolling on bedtime. By the 2-week mark, bedtime was getting really easy. The arousals in the middle of the night were consolidating. He was sleeping past 6. And then I think that by the 3rd week, we were like, all right, we are really in the zone now. And then we moved on to nap training.
Nap time.
And then we got that all rock solid. So, this is about nights and naps.
Yep.
And then we refined his daytime schedule to make it work really well with everybody and the caregiver and everything. And so by the time everything formed up and we got it looking picture perfect, because all along the way, there's tweak, all the customizations happening all the time, that within under a month, like, your life was what we talked about at the beginning to what we're saying now. Like, and so this idea of like suffering, like, you don't have to suffer. And during that month, Dad, would you say that you were actually less exhausted sleep training than when you were living your life before? Because that's the other thing. People often think, when you sleep train, it's going to be so hard, so arduous, so awful. I'm going to be more tired than I am now, and I'm already depleted. When in fact, you were like, well, I'm actually doing better now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was mentally exhausted, prior to this, and it was a process going through it, but it didn't take a toll on me kind of mentally.
Mhm.
It was tiring, but I felt good at the going to bed at night. Kind of especially in the early days of this. So
Yeah. Well, you guys, another success story with a 2.5-year-old, when most people think, oh, is it too late? It's never too late.
No.
It's never too late to
That's right.
to teach
Mhm.
sleep skills. So thank you so much, you guys, for sharing your story. And I'm just so pleased that you have a beautiful, harmonious household and a
Yeah.
well-rested family.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Thank you, Joanna. We couldn't do this without you. Thank you so much for your support.
You're welcome.